Sometimes I get so painfully nostalgic for college. So, for context, I went to college from 2011 to 2016. I was popping my pussy and living my best life in these white boy frat houses, and I had a roster of guys that I would rotate.
There's been a massive trend of men being emasculated, and I'm not just talking about Akash in particular. Clips of his wife has gone viral lately. If you haven't been living under a rock, you've probably seen the incident Will Smith at the Oscars, Logan Paul and his new wife, and the latest incident of this, Akash and his wife. So give add some info on Akash. He's a comedian, fairly successful comedian, but I've never seen any of his shows. But judging by the amount of money he spends on his wife, he's done quite well for himself. What led up to this is the clip that I reacted to in the beginning of this video. There are multiple clips like this circulating the internet of Akash's wife just disrespecting him openly, just speaking bad about him. What is the obsession with emasculating straight men in particular? It's not this incident that's going viral in particular that caught my attention, but how perfect the example of what's going on is. And I just wanted to make an example of the whole situation to highlight this being a trend, not just famous men, but ordinary men as well. Akash and his wife has been married since 2021, and since then he's even renewed his wedding vows, the whole renewal thing. He's bought a Birkin bag, a new wedding ring, all valued at a substantial amount of money. In return, the disrespect that she has shown him. Now, it's ruined him. Basically, he's being dragged through the mud on podcasts.
Hustler who scams a little bit. I'm not a scammer who
I'm not
hustles.
gonna lie, that was sexy, and that's why I'm actively trying to have an orgy.
Wait, he used to sell like iPhones, but sell like iPhones.
She's tried to defend everything. The clips have been taken down, the ones that have been posted by her, but damage has been done. What specifically I wanted to speak about was this combination of modernity and tradition that she has switched between. As you can see in those clips, she exhibits all the traits of a typically modern woman, and now they have a typically traditional marriage where she stays at home, but she doesn't clean or cook. They didn't have any kids, I believe, and they don't have any kids, so she just happens to be a stay-at-home wife. The problem with mixing tradition and modernity is that the two do not mix. Women like Jaslyn, Kakash's wife, she switches between the two when it's most convenient for her. She just happened to be caught and this went viral. She tries to salvage the situation, as you know, judging her by those clips. She is a modern woman, every sense of the word, but switched to tradition. She got married. What I get from that clip, that one, she's trying to show two things. First one is she's trying to show her followers, particularly female followers, that she has lived this lifestyle. She's a desirable woman. Men want her, and she has lived a certain lifestyle for a couple of years while she was studying at university. Second thing, she's trying to emasculate her husband. She's showing him that look what I can do, look what I have done. You aren't much in my eyes. You have no significance here. I've done it before. I can do it again. Whereas Will Smith has sold himself as profanity-free music artist, was a wholesome guy, a family man. What we've seen on the Red Table Talk, so the podcast of the family, is in that household, it's everything but. He tries to bring a sense of tradition. His family is doing the total opposite. That household is a total mess, and that's how people lost all respect for Will. He's been entirely and totally emasculated. These two men, I'm sure there are plenty more examples out there. These two men, what has caused people to lose respect for them is the fact that they haven't been, Will is claimed to be and his wife is claimed to be separated. I don't know if that changes anything. I don't know if that's maybe the rollback kind of defense. Akash's wife has also come up with reasons, excuses, but I'm not buying that. Back to what I was saying, they allow themselves to be disrespected. Akash throws money at her, expecting that she would start respecting him as a man. Same with Will Smith. He's going on and on with this. Well, it's just not saving the marriage in this case. They will continue to be disrespected until they reach a point. He puts his foot down, tell the wife, do not talk to me like that. You humiliated me in front of millions of people. This cannot go on this way. This brings me to the myth of saturation, the myth that there are just so many men out there that women don't know what to choose. They have an abundance of options. That is still to a certain extent. There are a lot of men, yes, and one woman, but these are just horny men. They aren't masculine men. They aren't, and the truth is, there aren't enough masculine men to go around. If I were just to rough estimate, this is not proven fact, but there should be something like 100 women for every one masculine man. How much men do you know? You can honestly tell us. I'm willing to bet you cannot count on more than one hand. But social media paints it this way that there are just so much men swimming in money. Noel, 6 foot tall. This is not the reality. This is a piece of reality that's taken and put on a phone, sent through the algorithms. The reality of the matter is that there aren't enough masculine men in the world. If you have ever been a rehab center, if you ever volunteered at any of those places, if you've ever seen a wildfire, a natural disaster like tsunami, a tornado, you would see during that anarchy, you're standing there like just thinking it would be great if we had more men here, if we had more help, and there's never enough help. And if you go to a place like an orphanage, you'd see they are full to the bottom, and it's just a lot of women working there, maybe a few men. There is a lack of masculinity in the world that's desperately needed. Social media paints that there's just this abundance of men. This abundance of men. That's why so many are irrelevant. That this is not the truth. Akash has giga money, but he's no giga. You see, even him, he's not a masculine man. If he was, this relationship would have been over. That marriage would have been over. If any of you ever watched Walking Dead, just to make an example out of a fictional show, Shane Walsh, he is basically a piece of shit throughout the series. Hooking up with Eric's wife. He murdered people, if I can say that on YouTube. He unalived people. But as the world was ending, they really needed him, needed his skills with weapons. They needed him as a man. And it's the same concept throughout the whole series. If the main group runs into a group that just happen to be the majority of women, as a viewer, you're watching and you're like, they're going to be a liability throughout the show. If you find a group with a bunch of men, okay, for the next couple of episodes, it's going to be good. They have a couple of days of breathing time, but if you know The Walking Dead, that it never really lasts. This brings me to the last point that I want to make. There is no such thing. There is no such thing as a modern man. Imagine if men, if we say the same things, if we had a male version of feminism. It's just men going, imagine if men did the same thing. They just come out and say, you know what, I'm not broke, I'm not a loser. That just happens to be an arbitrary definition that defines me. And people would go, okay, you have to back that up. You just went, no, I'm not gonna fight this fire. I'm not gonna help during natural disasters. I'm not gonna build anymore. I'm being oppressed by getting put into this margin. And then people would be like, yeah, those are just concepts. It's all out there, but somebody still has to do the work. So there's no such thing as a modern man, there's just a man. Why do we allow women to switch between tradition and modern? And I don't believe there's such thing as a modern woman either. See, she's gone from modern and then switched to tradition because there's no such thing. In the end, it's always an evolutionary thing. The desires, the wants, the very essence makes you up, regardless of what these women may have done in the past. They made sure that when they got married, they were out in all of their tradition, believed they are Hindus, and they made sure she was wearing that traditional attire to show everybody, to show the world, this is my heritage. So switching between the two, there's no accountability for it. It's like it never happened. And they continue to disrespect him. And I just felt the need to make an example out of this, to speak about this. Thank you for watching.